Yo, what's good, fam? Agent O here with another action figure review, and today I have the SH Figuarts Avengers Infinity War Thanos figure. Yeah, once again, here's the box. Look at the box art on the back, on the side, at the top. Look at that purple and gold. Looks like he plays for the Lakers or some shit. Anyway, let's get on to the review because that's enough of the box. And you guys will have to forgive me. I am battling a sinus infection, so I'm going to try and not sniff as much as I possibly can. And if you do hear me sniffing, don't worry. It's just the snot. I'm not sniffing lines of Coke. You know, with as expensive as these figures are, who can afford good Coke these days? So anyway, here is Thanos in all of his Mad Titan glory, and as always, we always start off with the aesthetics. And you know, I actually dig the face sculpt of this figure. I think it looks like Josh Brolin. I think the light plays off of the sculpt really well, especially when you want to get like some dramatic lighting and with some really dark shadows and whatnot. You know, the sculpt is really nice. Some of the details are rather subtle. The light wash that they used on the face, just to add a little bit more shadow, it's just right. I mean, it's not too much, and it's just enough that you almost don't notice it. You almost think it's just the light playing off of the face. But yeah, I really dig the face, and that's with all the faces. They all look like I guess Thanos Brolin, I guess you could call him. I do like the blend of glossy and metallic with a lot of the matte finish, and the areas that are matte, that have a matte finish, are nicely textured and detailed. Once again, the texture is just enough that it doesn't it's not garish and it doesn't jump out at you. It's just done. It's done just right, and it allows there to have something there instead of having it just be slathered in paint all over. And I'm sure this saves them money on paint in the production process as well, by doing it this way. But you know, all the metal pieces look metal, and you know, the black parts look like a shiny finished polished off leather. And even the musculature on Thanos' arms, you can see the little I don't know what you call them, but the little the pigment indentations on his arms, just like in the movie. It's all right there. Musculature looks good. I like how they sculpted the joints and the elbows to match with the profile and the curvature of the arms, of the upper arms and the forearms. I mean, I don't really have any complaints about the look of this figure. Some people might say it looks too plain, but Thanos kind of looked plain in the movie because he took off all that gold armor and the helmet. I remember people kind of complaining about his look because he kind of dressed down for the movie. But I don't mind it. I didn't mind it. I liked it. It looks otherworldly, and I think Figuarts captured that. I especially really dig the Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, look at that thing. The detail on it is really nice. I'm trying to let the light hit it just right so you can get a good look at all the detail on it. But of course, as usual, I'll include pictures. You know, I don't really have any issues with the way this figure looks. I think they just did a really good job. I have no real complaints. I'm sure other people who are a little bit more pickier than I am, maybe there's some movie accuracy issues, but I don't notice any. I only saw the movie once. But yeah, so far, I like what I'm seeing. Like I said, the look of the figure is not the problem with this figure. The problem with this figure is in some of the articulation. So let us just jump into that real quick. As usual, head is on a ball joint. There is So I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit because he's kind of a taller figure. He's well over 6 inches, but just under the Hulk's height, and I've got images of that as well. But as you can see, the head is on a ball joint. He looks up pretty nicely. He doesn't really look down because he's got that big square jaw chin, but his neck is also on a ball joint, so that also factors in, and so he can look down that far. Because of the high collar, you can't get the neck to go back anymore, but like I said, there's enough play in the head that he can look up pretty nicely. He can go side to side. The neck really can't. The rest of the neck really can't. It can only go back and forth. Once again, high collar. The shoulders, there's no bicep swivel, as you can see. They didn't want to break up the sculpt, so it's all in the all the rotation is in the big ball socket that you see on the inside of the arm. It's a double ball joint. I don't know if as you can see, it's a double ball joint in there, and he also has a butterfly joint. Comes down and it comes out like so, and it also comes down, and you got a lot of play in there, and there's gappage for those of you that don't like gappage. I don't mind it as long as I get the range of motion I want, and with that, I mean, you can lift his arms up about that high, which isn't bad at all. When you lift his arms out, you can get oops, well, as you can see, it pops out for when you get careless like I just did. Usually I don't do that, I don't make those kinds of mistakes, but this is like my biggest gripe. One of my big gripes with this figure is you can't really get his shoulders to come out that far with the butterfly joints as they are. I was trying to do some poses, some fighting poses, and they just didn't look as natural as I would have liked them to be, just because his shoulders don't work the way I would like. In order to give me the range of motion to put him in like decent fighting stances. So his punches and stuff will look a little stiff because he just doesn't have the range of motion in the shoulders necessary in order to pull off, you know, decent looking punches. His elbows aren't actually double jointed. It looks like it, but the upper, where they plug in on the upper arm, you do have some motion, but it's only enough so that he can curl about that far up with his arms. So you're not going to get, it's not horrible, but it's not a true double joint. There's no forearm swivel on either arm. The gloved arm is on a ball peg. Well, it's like a double ball peg swivel type deal, but you only get about that much movement out of it, like when you twist, when you move his wrist. But if you pull, and it's designed to do this, you can pull the peg out some, and it's fixed so it won't come all the way out. But that gives you more range of motion, as you can see. I mean, you don't have to pull it all the way out. I usually just pull it out enough that I can get a more decent bend than what the figure gives you. Just because when it's out all the way like this, it just doesn't look that great. But I like the fact that they included that so that you can have the range of motion you need. The other arm doesn't do that, but it's not necessary. On my figure, this peg is really stiff, so I have to kind of dig my fingers in to rotate it, which I'm not complaining, because like I said, I'd rather have really stiff joints than really loose joints. So that's something I can learn to live with. But you can hear it creaking in there because it's a really tight fit. Yeah, you hear that creak. So I'm okay with that. Like I said, this arm is a little looser than the other arm, but not so much that it's going to inhibit it's going to not be able to hold the pose. So hopefully it stays that way, and it doesn't get any more loose through not through play, but with doing different poses for different things. His upper torso is more than likely on a ball joint. You can twist from side to side. He doesn't really go back or forward too far, even with the even with the lower torso also being able to rotate. The lower torso doesn't, it's tight, but there's not a whole lot of room anyway, but it does rotate a little bit, and then the upper torso kind of makes up for the rest. But he's not going to be doing the chubby checker twist, for those of you old enough to know what that is. It's still very limited compared to other figure art toys. I don't know what it is with when they do big figures or big characters, they skimp on some of the articulation. I don't know why that is. It was like that with the Hulk, and it was like that with some of the other figures as well. Some of the other bigger characters that they've done. I don't know why that is, but it's the case with this figure also as well. With the legs, he's got a ball joint on the inside, and as you can see, the thigh swivel is also on the inside, and you've got decent rotation with the thigh swivel as well. The joints are those figure art joints where the pelvis can pivot down. You can pull it down to get more of a split. So that's about as much split as you're going to get with Thanos, but Thanos isn't like he's not supposed to be an agile martial artist. He's supposed to be a guy who hits really hard and puts you down after you get hit. I'm sure the Hulk can attest to that if you saw the movie. So it has enough motion for you to do and get what you want out of it. The knees, once again, nice sculpting on the back of the knees. It gives you about that much of a bend. So it's about 90 degrees, maybe a little bit more, but I will just round it off and say 90-degree bend. Once again, he's not an agile Spider-Man type martial artist, so he's not going to need that much. He's not going to need that much range of motion in the leg department. His feet are nice and big, so he stands really well. Because of the way the boots are designed with these flaps that kind of come down over the foot, you don't get as much ankle rotation. Like, there's hardly any. It's kind of enough for you to get some pivot, but not a whole lot. His feet go up that high. And because of the back of the boot, you can't put them back any farther. And of course, he has the toe point. So, all in all, I don't know what other Thanos figures are going to be coming out to recommend this figure. It's not a bad figure, and for those of you that aren't into figures with a lot of posability, then this might be the figure for you. It's a well done figure. It looks really nice. It's gonna look great with all the other MCU Figuarts figures. I just wish they add as much articulation with those that they do with characters like Spider-Man. I kind of wish they could have figured something out with this guy, because like I said, some of the poses I was doing with him just weren't just were stiff and weren't as expressive as I would like them to be. But if that's a big deal to you, then I would suggest maybe looking at other Thanos figures. It's still more posable than a Marvel Legends, so it's got that going for it at least. But I want to move on to the accessories, because he does have some, and he has the heads. And once again, like I said, the heads are nicely sculpted. You've got his neutral face, and then you've got his angry. Could be straining. It could be gritting his teeth. I mean, it looks like it reminds me of the like they tried to capture the image from the Infinity Gauntlet cover, where he's got the Infinity Gauntlet in front of him, and he's kind of looking up, and the light's kind of coming down on him, the light source, and it just looks really nice. It's once again, both of these sculpts are really, really good, really nice sculpts. I don't have any complaints whatsoever with these. You almost can't see his eyes because they kind of blend in with the color of the sculpt, but his eyes were pretty sunken in the movie as well, so it fits. As for the hands, he has his flexed pose hands. He also has the kind of splayed hands, and you know, as usual, nicely sculpted. No complaints there whatsoever. He also has the finger snap hands. I thought this was a nice touch. I didn't know they were gonna include this with the toy because they didn't show any pictures with it. But I like the fact that they had this in here. I think he snapped his fingers though with the gloved hand, if I'm not mistaken. But I have to watch the movie. I can't remember. I only watched the movie once. But he also has a splayed glove hand, and the detail is on point with this as well. On all sides of and all angles of this sculpted hand. And on each and every hand, they used translucent plastic for the the gems, the infinity stones, which is a nice touch. You know, Bandai invented injection molding, and they used it to great effect on this hand to get these small little bits of plastic on here, unless they were glued on, you know, in post or something after they were sculpted. That's also a possibility, but they look really nice. Oops, sorry, they're off camera. I think they look really good, and I have no complaints. Just nicely done. And that is pretty much it for accessories, because Thanos didn't really come with anything. He didn't have any. His main weapon was the Gauntlet, so that's kind of about it for this figure. There really isn't much else to tell or write home about. I'm not super disappointed with this figure. Get this figure if you want to complete your collection, because I think this is a nice addition to your collection, even though it is lacking in posability, and posability is really important to me. So yeah, I just that's my biggest gripe with this figure. If they had nailed the posability, I would completely recommend getting this figure. But I'm sure a lot of people will get this figure anyway. Like I said, it's a nice looking figure, and it's going to look good with your collection, in anybody's collection. So that is pretty much going to do it for this review. Leave your comments in the comments section. Let me know if this would be the kind of figure you would get despite its limitations. Hit me up on Facebook. I'm Agent Omega Man. You just do a search for my name. I pop right up. You know, if you like what you see, hit that like and subscribe button so that you can stay up to date with my releases and all that. And make sure you turn on your notifications so that you know when I put up a new video, because I guess that's what YouTube wants people to do now. They want you to turn on that notification bell. So that is pretty much going to do it. I'll catch you guys on the next review. I'm Agent O, and I'm out. Peace.